My boyfriend said, "I need more freedom. We should see other people while still dating." I replied, "That's called being single." Then I changed my relationship status, packed his stuff from my apartment, and started dating his colleague, who'd been asking me to coffee for months. When he came home from his freedom date and found his bags on the porch with a note saying, "Enjoy your freedom permanently," the meltdown was spectacular. I'm Isabella Montgomery, 32, a financial analyst making $85K annually in Chicago. My boyfriend Zachary Brooks, 34, had been living in my condo for the past 10 months. We'd been together 3 years total, and I thought we were heading towards something permanent. I owned a nice 2-bedroom place worth about $280K in Lincoln Park, with monthly mortgage payments of $1,300 that I could comfortably afford. When his lease ended last year, moving in together seemed like the logical next step toward marriage. Things had been good, or so I thought. We'd talked about engagement timelines, looked at rings online, even discussed combining our finances. Sure, there were some red flags I'd been ignoring. Zachary made about $52K as a marketing coordinator, significantly less than me, and sometimes seemed uncomfortable with our income disparity. He'd mention feeling like he was missing out on experiences, especially when his single friends would tell stories about dating apps or spontaneous hookups. I chalked it up to normal pre-engagement jitters. My friend Lauren from book club had warned me months earlier. "He seems restless, like he's not fully committed to building something with you." I'd brushed off her concerns, thinking she was just being overprotective after her own messy divorce. That Tuesday evening changed everything. I was reviewing quarterly reports at my dining table when Zachary walked in from work looking unusually serious. He'd been distant for weeks, claiming work stress, but I suspected something deeper was brewing. He sat down across from me without even saying hello, his hands fidgeting nervously. "We need to talk about our relationship," he said. I saved my work and closed the laptop, my stomach already tightening. "Okay, what's on your mind?" "I've been thinking a lot about us, about where we're going, about what I need." Classic red flag language, but I let him continue. "I think we should open up the relationship, not break up, just see other people while still being together." I stared at him for a moment, processing. "You want to date other people while dating me?" "It's not like that. I just need more freedom, more experiences. We're still young, you know? I don't want to wake up at 40 and wonder what I missed out on." "So, you want to sleep with other people?" "Why do you have to make it sound so crude? It's about personal growth. Lots of couples do this now. It's called ethical non-monogamy. I've been reading about it online." The clinical way he said it told me this wasn't a spontaneous idea. He'd been planning this conversation, researching justifications. My chest tightened with the realization that while I'd been planning our future, he'd been planning his escape route. "No," I said calmly, "it's called being single, which you're about to be." His face changed completely, surprise replacing his practiced confidence. "What? If you want to see other people, we're done. Simple as that." "That's not fair. I'm trying to be honest with you, to communicate my needs." And I'm being honest back. I'm not interested in an open relationship. If you need to explore other options, go ahead. But you won't be coming back here. He stood up, getting defensive. "You're being controlling. This is exactly why I need space." Space and seeing other people are different things. But sure, you can have all the space you want starting now. "You can't just kick me out. This is my home too." "Actually, it's my home. Your name isn't on the deed, the mortgage, or even the lease agreement we signed when you moved in. And yes, I can ask you to leave." He started to tear up, the reality hitting him. "I can't believe you're doing this. I thought you loved me." "I do love you, but apparently not enough for you since you want to audition replacements while keeping me as a backup. That's not what this is." "Then explain it to me in a way that doesn't involve you dating other women while I wait at home wondering if I'm good enough." Silence. His mouth opened and closed like he was searching for words that didn't exist. "Exactly. When's your date?" "What?" This didn't come out of nowhere. You've already got someone lined up. When's the date? More silence. Then, quietly, Thursday night, but it's just dinner with someone from work. My heart sank, not just because he'd already made plans, but because he'd lied about it being spontaneous. Cool, have fun, pack your stuff tomorrow. You can crash wherever you want, but you're not staying here. You're being insane. It's one dinner. One dinner while telling me you want an open relationship. You already started this. You just wanted permission after the fact. His crying got louder, more dramatic. Please, can we just talk about this rationally? We are talking. You want freedom. I'm giving it to you permanently. He grabbed his phone and started texting frantically, probably his best friend Marcus or his sister Jade. I went back to my laptop, opening my banking app to check my finances. Single income again, but I'd managed just fine before. He stormed into the bedroom and I could hear him on the phone, his side of the conversation all about how I was being unreasonable and overreacting. She's not even listening to me, he said loudly enough for me to hear. I'm trying to save our relationship and she's acting like I cheated. 30 minutes later, he came out with an overnight bag. I'm staying at Marcus's place tonight. We'll talk tomorrow when you've calmed down. Nothing to talk about. I'll have your stuff packed by Thursday afternoon. You're making a huge mistake. We're good together. If we were that good together, you wouldn't need to see what else is out there. He left, slamming the door. I sat there for a moment, then pulled out my phone and changed my relationship status to single. My notifications immediately started buzzing with concerned messages from friends, but I ignored them for now. Then I started scrolling through my professional contacts, looking for a specific name, Cameron West, an investment advisor who worked with some of our corporate clients. We'd met at a networking event 6 months ago, and he'd been asking me to coffee ever since. Always professional, never inappropriate, since he knew I had a boyfriend, but he'd mentioned wanting to discuss some mutual interests outside of work. I'd always declined because I was in a relationship. Well, not anymore. I sent him a message. Hey Cameron, if that coffee offer is still open, I'm free this weekend. He responded within 10 minutes. Absolutely. Saturday afternoon work for you? Perfect. Then I started planning my Wednesday. I had boxes to pack. I spent Wednesday at work trying to focus on quarterly earnings reports, but word travels fast in Chicago's financial district. My friend Jenna from HR noticed I'd changed my relationship status and cornered me during lunch break. Everything okay? Saw you're single now on LinkedIn. Zachary wanted to explore other options. I helped him explore them permanently. She raised an eyebrow. Good for you. Honestly, I never thought he appreciated what he had. You deserve someone who doesn't need to shop around. That afternoon, I left work early and drove to Target for packing supplies. Boxes, tape, bubble wrap, markers. I was methodical about this, treating it like any other project that needed completion. No drama, no revenge fantasy, just efficient execution. My mother called while I was in the moving supplies aisle. Honey, I saw your relationship status change. What happened? Zachary asked for an open relationship. I said no and ended things. There was a long pause. At your age, Isabella, maybe you should consider, Mom, I'm 32, not 52. I'm not settling for someone who sees me as a backup plan. I just worry about you being too picky. Good men don't grow on trees. Neither do self-respecting women. We'll talk later. I hung up, frustrated but unsurprised. The pressure was real, even from family. Most of my friends were married or engaged, and I'd been feeling the subtle questions about timelines more frequently lately. But settling for someone who wanted to test drive other relationships wasn't the answer. Back home, I spent 3 hours systematically packing Zachary's belongings. His clothes from our shared closet, his gaming setup from the living room, his collection of craft beer bottles, his toiletries from our bathroom. Everything carefully boxed and labeled. This wasn't about being vindictive. It was about creating clean boundaries. I found things I'd forgotten about. Concert tickets from our first year together. A birthday card I'd given him that he'd apparently kept. Photos of us at his sister's wedding where we'd talked about our own future ceremony. For a moment, I felt a pang of sadness for what we'd built or what I thought we'd built. Then I found his laptop history still logged in on our shared computer, dating app downloads from 2 months ago, Reddit posts asking about opening up long-term relationships dating back 6 weeks. This hadn't been spontaneous at all. He'd been planning his exit strategy while I'd been planning our future. The sadness transformed into clarity. I wasn't losing something real. I was discovering something that had never been as solid as I'd believed. He texted around 6 p.m. "Can we please talk before I come by tomorrow?" "Nothing to talk about. Your stuff will be ready." "You're really doing this? 3 years and you're just throwing it away?" "You're the one who wanted to throw it away to see what else was out there. I'm just making it official." "I never said I wanted to throw us away. I said I wanted to explore while keeping what we have. That's called having your cake and eating it too. I'm not a safety net." Thursday evening, he showed up with Marcus as backup support. I'd moved everything to the front porch by then, neatly stacked and organized. I didn't want him inside the apartment anymore. That chapter was closed. Marcus whistled when he saw the boxes. "Damn, Isabella, you don't mess around." "Efficiency is one of my strengths." Zachary looked like he'd been crying. His eyes were red, his hair disheveled. "Baby, please, can we just talk inside for 5 minutes? I canceled the date. I realized what we have is more important." "Nope, everything's here. You can load it up." "I made a mistake. I don't want to see other people. I was just scared about commitment, about making the wrong choice." "Cool. Work through that commitment phobia on your own time." Marcus started loading boxes, clearly wanting to escape the awkward situation. "Maybe you two should talk this through." "Marcus," I interrupted, "this doesn't concern you. And Zachary, you didn't cancel the date. You postponed it. There's a difference." Zachary's face went pale. He'd probably told Marcus he'd canceled it entirely. "How did you—" "Your browser history. You've been planning this for months. Dating apps, Reddit posts about open relationships, research on ethical non-monogamy. This wasn't a sudden realization. This was a calculated move. You went through my computer? You left yourself logged in, but that's not the point. The point is you've been lying about this being spontaneous." Marcus worked faster, sensing the conversation was deteriorating. Zachary tried a different approach, his voice softer. "Look, I know I handled this wrong, but we can work through this. Couples therapy, whatever you want." "What I want is a partner who doesn't need to research how to cheat with permission." "That's not fair." "What's not fair is asking someone to wait around while you decide if they're good enough. That's not a relationship, that's an audition." They finished loading the car in tense silence. Zachary made one final attempt. "I love you, Isabella. I don't want to lose you." "You already did. Have a good life." He stood there for another moment, looking lost. "This isn't how it was supposed to go." "How was it supposed to go? I agree to let you date around while I wait to see if you come back to me." "That's not love, Zachary. That's selfishness. I just needed to know you'd fight for me." "Fighting for you would have meant agreeing to let you test drive other relationships while keeping me as emotional insurance. That's not fighting. That's enabling manipulation." They drove away, and I went inside, locking the door behind me. My phone immediately started buzzing. His mother, his sister, mutual friends from college, all asking what happened and why I'd given up so easily. I responded to the ones that mattered. He wanted to see other people. I didn't. We're done. My friend Lauren called within an hour. "I heard through the grapevine. Are you okay?" "I'm fine. Actually, I'm better than fine. I feel like I dodged a bullet." "The timing is harsh, though. Right before his work date." "The timing was his choice. He could have brought this up before making plans with someone else." "Fair point. What are you doing tomorrow night?" "Coffee date with Cameron West. You know, that investment advisor I've mentioned." "Good for you. No point in sitting around moping over someone who didn't appreciate what he had." Saturday couldn't come fast enough. My coffee date with Cameron that Saturday was exactly what I needed. We met at a trendy spot in Lincoln Park, and what was supposed to be a quick afternoon coffee turned into a 4-hour conversation that moved from lattes to lunch to an evening walk along the lake. Cameron was everything Zachary wasn't. Confident without being arrogant, successful without feeling threatened by my career, and refreshingly direct about his intentions. He was 35, divorced 2 years ago, and had built a solid investment advisory practice with clients throughout the city. "I have to admit," he said as we walked along the lakefront, "I always wondered why you were with him." "What do you mean?" "You seemed, I don't know, like you were holding yourself back. Like you had more to offer than he was ready to receive." That's pretty perceptive for someone who only saw us at networking events. I notice things, especially when it comes to impressive women who are clearly undervalued. We talked about everything. My work in financial analysis, his investment strategies, travel plans we'd both put on hold, books we'd read, shows we'd binged. The conversation flowed naturally, without the underlying tension I'd grown accustomed to with Zachary. "Want to do this again?" he asked as we headed back to our cars. "Maybe dinner next time?" "I'd like that." Meanwhile, Zachary was apparently having his own revelations. I heard through our mutual friend circle that his Thursday night date had been a complete disaster. According to Lauren, who heard it from her boyfriend who worked with Zachary, his coworker had spent the entire evening complaining about her ex-husband and showing him photos of her 3 cats. He'd left after 90 minutes and tried calling me that same night. I didn't answer. Over the next 2 weeks, Cameron and I saw each other twice more. Dinner at an Italian place downtown, then a Saturday afternoon at the Art Institute, followed by cocktails. He was easy to be around, no games or mixed signals. Just genuine interest and respect for my time and boundaries. Zachary, however, couldn't seem to accept that his freedom experiment had backfired. He started showing up at places he knew I'd be. My regular Starbucks near work, the grocery store I always used, even my gym. Always coincidentally there, always wanting to just talk. The first time was at Whole Foods on a Wednesday evening. I was picking up ingredients for dinner when I spotted him by the organic produce section, clearly waiting. "Isabella, please, just 5 minutes. We have nothing to discuss, Zachary. I made a mistake, a huge mistake. Can't we work through this? You had 3 years to work through your commitment issues. You chose to handle them by asking permission to date other people. We're done." But I didn't actually do anything. I realized what I was about to throw away. "You realized it after your date was terrible. That's not the same as choosing me." I walked away, but he followed me through the store, drawing stares from other shoppers. Security eventually asked him to leave me alone. The second coincidental meeting was at my gym the following Monday. He'd never been a member there before, but suddenly he was on the treadmill next to mine, trying to start conversation about our shared history and how we owed it to ourselves to try harder. I documented everything: screenshots of the texts he sent despite me not responding, photos when he showed up places, notes about dates and times. My friend Lauren, who worked in family law, had warned me to keep records. "This behavior escalates," she told me over drinks one Friday. "Document everything, just in case." You think he's dangerous? I think he's a guy who's never been told no by someone he wanted. That can go sideways fast. Cameron noticed my stress during our 3rd week of dating. We were having dinner at his favorite steakhouse when my phone buzzed with another text from Zachary. "Ex-boyfriend still bothering you?" Starting to feel like harassment. He keeps showing up places, texting constantly, asking mutual friends to intervene. "Want me to talk to him?" "No, that'll just escalate things. Let him burn himself out." But it didn't burn out. It got worse. Zachary somehow got Cameron's personal cell number and started texting him long, rambling messages about how I was cold and manipulative and how Cameron was just being used for revenge. Cameron screenshot everything and forwarded it to me. "He's telling people you were emotionally abusive," Cameron said during one of our phone conversations. That you isolated him from friends, controlled his finances? None of that's true. I know. I've seen how you are in professional settings. You're direct, not controlling. But he's making rounds with these stories. That's when I got the call from my building's management company that made my stomach drop. Ms. Montgomery, we've received several noise complaints about your unit, loud music, fighting, parties at all hours. That's impossible. I live alone, work long hours, and haven't had any gatherings. I understand your confusion, but we've had multiple complaints filed. If it continues, we'll need to investigate and potentially issue lease violations. Who filed them? I can't disclose that information, but the complaints came through our main office, not from immediate neighbors. I knew exactly who was behind it. The pattern was clear. When direct confrontation failed, Zachary was trying to make my life difficult through other channels. I called Lauren immediately. He's filing false complaints with my building management. Document it. Time, date, exactly what they told you. This is escalating into harassment territory. Should I be worried? I'd start considering a restraining order. This level of persistent contact after you've made your boundaries clear isn't healthy. 2 days later, the final straw arrived in the form of a call from my building's security office at 11 p.m. on a Tuesday. Ms. Montgomery, someone has vandalized your vehicle in the parking garage. You'll want to come down immediately. I threw on clothes and rushed to the garage, where security was waiting with their incident report clipboard. There, along the passenger side of my BMW, was a deep, deliberate scratch running from the front wheel well to the back bumper. Do you have security footage? I asked. We do. Would you like us to call the police? Yes, and I want copies of that footage. The scratch was going to cost $2,800 to repair. But more importantly, the security cameras had captured everything in crystal clear detail. Zachary approaching my car at 2:30 a.m., looking around to make sure he wasn't being watched, then deliberately dragging his key along the paint. Finally, I had enough evidence to make him face real consequences. I filed the police report that same night, with Officer Martinez taking down every detail while reviewing the security footage on the building's monitor system. The video was damning, clear shots of Zachary's face, his license plate, and the deliberate nature of the vandalism. You have a solid case for criminal damage to property, Officer Martinez told me. The footage is excellent quality, and $20,800 puts this in felony territory. Do you want to press charges? Absolutely. I'd also recommend considering a restraining order. This pattern of behavior you've described, the stalking, false reports, harassment of your new partner, it's escalating. My friend who's a lawyer said the same thing. Smart friend, here's the victim services number. They can walk you through the process. I spent the next morning at work distracted, fielding calls from the victim services coordinator and researching restraining order procedures online. My colleague Rebecca noticed my stress during our team meeting. Everything okay? You seem scattered today. Ex-boyfriend issues. It's handled. Just dealing with paperwork now. Need time off for court stuff? Maybe. I'll let you know. The restraining order petition required detailed documentation of every incident. I had 3 weeks' worth of evidence, screenshots of ignored texts, photos from his surprise appearances, witness statements from gym staff and grocery store security, building management reports about the false noise complaints, and now the security footage of him vandalizing my car. Lauren helped me organize everything into a coherent timeline. This is textbook stalking behavior, she said, reviewing my file. The judge will see the escalation pattern clearly. What are my chances? With this much documentation? Very good. He's created a perfect paper trail of harassment. Cameron was incredibly supportive throughout the process, even offering to take time off work to accompany me to court. I know we haven't been dating long, he said over dinner, but I want you to know I'm here for whatever you need. Thank you. It means more than you know. Can I ask you something that might sound presumptuous? Go ahead. Do you think his behavior would have been different if you'd been dating someone less successful? Someone who didn't threaten his ego as much? I considered that. Maybe, but that's not my problem to manage. If he can't handle me dating someone accomplished, that says everything about his insecurity and nothing about my choices. Exactly. I just want you to know that his behavior isn't a reflection of anything you did wrong. You set clear boundaries. He chose to violate them. The court hearing was scheduled for 3 weeks later. I arrived with Lauren and a thick folder of evidence, feeling nervous but prepared. Zachary appeared with a public defender who looked like he'd been assigned the case that morning. His lawyer tried to minimize everything as a man processing a difficult breakup and argued that one incident of property damage didn't warrant a restraining order. My attorney dismantled that argument quickly. Your Honor, this isn't one incident. This is a sustained campaign of harassment spanning 5 weeks. The defendant has stalked my client at multiple locations, filed false reports with her building management, harassed her new romantic partner, and culminated this behavior by committing felony vandalism. The security footage is unambiguous. The judge reviewed the evidence methodically. Photos, witness statements, building management reports, security footage, screenshots of the harassing messages to Cameron. Zachary shifted uncomfortably in his seat as each piece of evidence was presented. Mr. Brooks, the judge said finally, this court finds sufficient evidence of harassment and stalking behavior. You are hereby ordered to stay away from Ms. Montgomery. No contact, direct or indirect. That includes third-party contact, social media monitoring, or appearing at locations you know she frequents. This order extends to her workplace, residence, and romantic partner. Zachary started crying in court, which surprised me. His lawyer tried to argue for a shorter duration, but the judge wasn't swayed. 1-year restraining order. You'll also pay full restitution for the vehicle damage, $2,800 plus court costs. His mother had come to court and tried to approach me outside, but the bailiff intervened. Ma'am, I strongly advise against any contact with the petitioner. This is ridiculous, she said loudly. He just scratched a car. You're ruining his life over a breakup. The bailiff was firm. Ma'am, please leave the area. Cameron had waited for me outside the courtroom. How do you feel? Relieved. Validated. Like I can finally move forward without looking over my shoulder. Good. Want to celebrate? I know a great place for lunch. I'd love that. Over the following months, my life gradually returned to normal. No more surprise appearances, no more harassing texts, no more false complaints. Zachary had moved back to his parents' place in Rockford, about 2 hours away, which helped create natural distance. Cameron and I grew closer week by week. He met my parents at a dinner party I hosted for my birthday, and they immediately appreciated his straightforward nature and obvious respect for me. My mother later admitted she'd never really trusted Zachary's commitment level. You seem lighter now, she told me privately. More like yourself. I didn't realize how much energy I was spending trying to convince someone to want what we had. The right person doesn't need convincing. 9 months after the restraining order was granted, Cameron and I made our relationship official by signing a lease together on a larger place in River North. This time, we were both on everything: lease, utilities, shared bank account for household expenses. Equal partners building something together. You sure about this? I asked as we toured the penthouse apartment. After seeing my talent for dramatic breakups, that wasn't your drama. That was his inability to handle rejection maturely. You showed incredible grace under pressure. Grace? I kicked him out immediately. Exactly. You knew what you wanted and didn't compromise your standards. That's not drama. That's self-respect. I heard, through mutual friends, that Zachary eventually started dating someone from his hometown. I genuinely hoped it worked out for him, but it wasn't my concern anymore. Sometimes people ask if I moved on too fast, if I should have given him another chance, if the whole situation was too harsh. My answer is always the same. He made a choice to prioritize curiosity over commitment. I declined to be his safety net while he explored other options. That's not harsh. That's having boundaries. Looking back, the entire experience taught me something valuable about relationships. The right person doesn't need to research how to cheat with permission. They don't ask you to audition for a role you've already been playing successfully. They choose you consistently and without reservation. Cameron never made me feel like a backup plan or a consolation prize. From our first coffee date, I felt valued, respected, and chosen. That's worth everything I went through to find it. Zachary wanted freedom to explore while keeping me as insurance. I gave him exactly what he asked for: complete freedom. He just learned the hard way that freedom from me wasn't actually what he wanted. Not my problem anymore.